If you're getting burnt out, you need to take a step back because you're doing something wrong. Take a step back and look at your life from a backwards point of view and see where energy is being taken. Hey guys, what's up? Over the past week, I've listened to over 7 hours of Jeff Bezos interviews, and over the period of that week, I was able to take notes and put together a list of 102 things I've learned from Jeff Bezos and understand why he's one of the world's richest men. So let's get right into the video. 1. Every time Jeff looks at something, he's always looking for ways to improve it. 2. Rather than focusing on competitors, he focuses on his own customers. Following competitors only work in mature industries, but at the moment, all industries are new. If you look at it, stuff like the internet, stuff like drones, such as electronics, every industry is a brand new industry, and it's going to be really hard to sort of copy what they're doing because everyone's moving at an insanely fast pace, and the only way you keep up is by doing your own thing and innovating. And the reason why he says that you shouldn't be focused on your competitors is that your competitors aren't the one that are going to be sending you checks. Your customers are the one. When your competitors on the news, they're gaining popularity, you should not get distracted by it, but what you should do is double down on your customers. Obsession over the customer, not obsession over the competitor. That's a pretty crazy quote straight from Jeff Bezos. I'm glad that I wrote that down. Number 3, be resourceful. He talks about how his grandfather, living in a farm far away from any town, rather than calling a vet every time one of his animals were sick, he would figure it out and find out how he could solve his animal sickness, even though he wasn't a vet. For every problem, there's a solution. So what Jeff was trying to say by that was that you have to be independent and be resourceful and find solutions on your own. Don't always go ahead and try ask people for answers. Try figuring it out on your own. And he talks about when you're in a team, you want to build a team of resourceful people. Because when he was working on the farm with his grandfather, there was a bunch of problems, and solving the unsolvable just became the norm because they were miles away from anything, miles away from any solution, so they just had to solve the unsolvable. Another thing Jeff learned while he was young from his grandparents, it's harder to be kind than clever. That's number 4. And this came up because I think the story was that he found a statistics on how much time you lost every time you smoked a cigarette, and he added up the amount of cigarettes his grandmother smoked and told his grandmother, based on his calculation, that she lost X amount of years. And the grandmother cried, and he thought it was being clever, adding it all up. And his grandfather pulled him aside and told him exactly that it's harder to be kind than being clever. 5, I learned that Jeff is an easy audience. He's easy to laugh, and that sort of makes him likable. He's always laughing, he's always cheerful, and he's a good audience. People just want to talk to him. You only regret the things you don't do. You regret acts of omission. That's number 6. 7, the reason why he started with books, because there was a universal selections of books out there, and I think he said that there's literally 3 million books at that time, and bookstores could only hold 100 plus unique titles. That's why he started with books when he went into Amazon.com. 8, when you get criticized, look in the mirror, and if they're correct, correct yourself straight away. If they're wrong, ignore it. 9, if you want to do something big and new, you're gonna have to be ready to be misunderstood and criticized. 10, when Amazon is constantly being scrutinized by the news outlets, TV, and everyone's putting Amazon down for being this big monopoly, he embraces it. He believes that big companies and people with that much power should be scrutinized and should be looked into with close detail. 11, Amazon has a lot of customer data, and they spent a lot of time and effort to build the customer trust to get this data. Jeff says that as a company, you should never misuse your consumers / customers information because they'll always find out. 12, so Jeff bought the Washington Post, which is basically a newspaper company, which is now digital, and he was asked if he would ever stop them from posting information that were against him or his companies, and he said that he would never ever do that. He will never manipulate stories, and he wants them to write bad things about him. So he's not buying these sort of news companies to create propaganda. He wants them to be independent. 13. Jeff believes that Blue Origin, his space company, is going to be the most important and the most impactful thing he does in his life. 14. When it comes to business, Jeff is a long-term thinker. When it comes to philanthropy, he's a short-term thinker. He's looking to help people right now. And when it comes to business, he's looking to sacrifice years and years for the rewards to come in. 15. Every year, Jeff liquidates $1 billion of his own Amazon stock to fund Blue Origin. 1 billion, that's pretty insane. 16. Jeff does not believe in work-life balance. He believes in work-life harmony. If you're happy at work and your work energizes you, then you're going to bring that positivity home. And if being at home energizes you, your wife, your kids make you happy, then you're going to bring that energy to work. So he believes in this harmony. He doesn't believe that you should spend 5 hours here, 5 hours there, and sort of break it down and sort of have a balance where you need to spend 8 hours a day at work and 5 hours a day with your family. Like, he believes in work-life harmony, how each should feed each other. 17. Surprising fact. Jeff does not care about being the world's wealthiest man. 18. Jeff does not care about his stock prices. He said that if the stocks were up 70% and you felt 70% better, does that mean if the stocks were down 33% that you're 33% dumber? It just doesn't make sense. The stock number are completely figurative. 19. Before Jeff makes a big decision, he looks at himself in the mirror and makes sure that he's overly optimistic that it's gonna work. 20. Jeff talked about a really interesting thing about how he was going to scale out the Washington Post. He said that the previous model was that they had a small amount of high ticket customers, and they had to transition to having a large amount of low ticket customers going worldwide and going onto the web rather than focusing within the local area of Washington. 21. Amazon Prime, one of Amazon's most successful business models, before it came to fruition, when he got the financial team to run the numbers and basically crunch out the formula and predictions, they predicted that if you were to give everyone free shipping, that you would make an insane loss and it wasn't going to be profitable. But based on Jeff's gut feeling and intuition, he bit the bullet and he went for it, and it turned out all right. So that's the importance of following your gut feeling and intuition. 22. Failure is good. For every winner, there's thousands of failure. All you need is one winner, and that one winner will make back for tens of thousands of failures. 23. Jeff believes in having good sleep. He believes in having 8 hours of sleep daily because it leads to better decisions, better high quality decisions, better mood and better energy. 24. Jeff has his first meeting at 10 a.m. and he does all his high intensive, high IQ meetings first. 26. Jeff believes that as a senior executive, you're making a small amount of high quality decisions daily. 26. Jeff has built his team to think long term and ahead. They're not worried about how this quarter is going to perform. They're working right now on the quarter that's going to come in fruition 3 years from now. So they're 3 years ahead of time, and today's quarter and results from Amazon has been planned 3 years ago. So that's sort of how Jeff built this empire. 27. If Jeff makes 3 high quality decisions for the day, he's happy. 28. When there's a customer service issue, Jeff gets his team to find the root cause of it and create root solutions. Because if this one customer had this issue, there's probably thousands of more customers having the exact same issue. 29. Jeff is always looking for a differentiator. That's why it took him 20 years to buy his own brick and mortar store, which was Whole Foods. He wanted something different, and he doesn't believe in doing the me too, where you have something that's just like someone else. You don't want to be a me too. So he needs to have something that's different and basically innovating. 30. When you do something new, there's going to be a 2-year delay. When Amazon launched Amazon.com, it took Barnes & Noble's 2 years to have their online website. When Amazon launched the Echo, it took 2 years for Google to release their sort of voice machine. When Amazon launched Kindle, it took 2 years for the competitor to come out with their own smart book. So when you pioneer, you get a 2-year head start. Jeff does not worry about regulations. He knows that customers are always going to want low prices, fast shipping time, and a large amount of selections. Jeff is thinking so ahead of his time that he doesn't see Blue Origin as something that's gonna make a lot of money and that's sort of gonna be big now. He's seeing it as the infrastructure for the next generation to tap into to succeed when it comes to space. Just like how he tapped into FedEx and all the postal systems, just like how he tapped into the credit card systems, which allowed people to pay and buy things online. He didn't invent those things, but he utilized those platforms to make Amazon.com, and that's how he sees Blue Origin. 33. One of Jeff's biggest aim is to reduce/minimize the amount of regrets he's gonna have. The amount of regrets he's gonna have when he's looking back in his past. There's this really interesting quote that he says. So Jeff's dad isn't his biological dad. His biological dad, I think, ran away or something. So he was raised by a single mother and the single mother's second sort of boyfriend/husband. But there was this awesome quote that he said, "My real dad is not my biological dad." That's pretty epic. 35. Jeff has massive appreciation for his parents. 36. Jeff always starts interviews by complimenting the hosts, complimenting the event, complimenting how awesome things are in the audience. That's how he always starts his interviews. 37. Jeff is an intense listener. When you're given customers' private information and details, you need to use that to benefit them. And that's exactly what Amazon has done for the past 20 years. Provide curated suggestions for the type of products their customers would love. Jeff and Amazon.com are being very, very clear that they're having and holding your information. And that's shown through the greeting every time you log in. "Welcome back, Andy." Clearly showing your purchase history. Things like this, Amazon is saying, hey, look, we have all this data, we know your name, we have your purchase history, we have your address, and they're not trying to hide the fact that they have your information. They're blatantly obvious about it. 40. Jeff does not talk about things that he's not clear about. Example, there was an issue with Apple's privacy that was sort of on the news and stuff. When the interviewer asked him questions about it, he replied by saying, "Set Apple thing aside since it's complex and I don't know all the details." If he doesn't know information about it, he's not going to talk about it. 41. The bad guys who are the hackers that are always trying to steal your information, they're always going to get better, but so are the good guys. The good guys are always going to improve their security system, and it's always going to be a cat and mouse game. Everyone's going to try to get better and better. 42. Jeff is always embracing and vouching and happy for things that go against him. He loves regulations. He loves retail stores. He encourages things that oppose his business. Example, he doesn't want to take over the postage industry. He wants to work with the postage industry despite having, his own airplanes, his own fulfillment centers. He wants to help DHL out. He wants to help out the US Postal Service. And he's willing to go as far as supplement for them, come in with the help, come in with the aid. He doesn't want to drive them out of business. He wants to grow with them. When Jeff opened his first bookstore in Seattle, he would test different placements of the bookshelves, test how the books were going to be presented. And he was the one who invented the model where books were going to be shown forward facing rather than being slided in sideways. And he would split test how Prime users would interact and basically optimize everything before opening more bookstores. He was very careful and calculated, and that's sort of how he goes about with everything. Jeff is always reverse engineering. He's always trying to reverse engineer what his customer needs, and he's always learning how to accomplish their needs. Hence, he's learning the retail space, because people need retail stores and people need to go in person at certain times, and that's why he's trying to reverse engineer that. Jeff does not worry about all the people that sue him. He's always about moving forward, and he doesn't want to spend all his time writing letters against them. 46. To be a good public figure, you gotta have thick skin. 47. Again, to do anything interesting in this world, you're gonna have critics. You have to be willing to be misunderstood in order to innovate. Example, when they introduced Amazon reviews, suppliers weren't happy that customers were able to leave negative reviews on their books. Jeff stuck to his word, kept the reviews, and that's sort of one of Amazon's strong points, that people are able to see which items are good and bad based on the reviews. If you're sad about haters, go out to the corner of your street, look around, look at all the people, and none of them are going to be thinking about you. 49. This is genius. Jeff has a prepaid school in Amazon.com. He literally pays for people who want to become pilots, nurses, and he funds them, he prepays them. Yes, he only does this for high demand jobs, but it basically gives all his workers freedom. Every time someone clocks in, they're walking past classes and schools that he has in his workplace. And it's pretty smart so that the people who don't want to work in Amazon can go ahead and get a degree in nursing. And people who are currently working in Amazon, they're not going to feel trapped. They're going to feel as if they have other options. And as a result, they're going to work more productively. 50. The reason why Jeff is getting into the TV side of things with Amazon TV, Amazon Prime TV, is because he sees a trend of movie actors wanting to transition into TV and TV actors wanting to transition into Netflix, Hulu, etc. Also, he wants to lock people into the Amazon Prime ecosystem, and that's going to lead to people likely buying more things on Amazon.com. Amazon Prime TV name purpose is basically to drive more Amazon Prime users. Jeff has realized how fast the internet is growing and how there have been so many innovations, and that when it comes to space, there have been zero. Since America has landed on the moon, literally, the growth in space has been little to none. 52. Jeff is very concerned and thinks for the next generation. He's always thinking far ahead and thinking of the people that are going to come after him. 53. Jeff believes that in the future, when it comes to AI, we're not going to be using one AI for everything. We're going to have multiple AIs for different tasks. And that's why he's putting together Amazon Studios, which is focused on AI. Most ideas and innovations seem stupid at first and doesn't make sense by analysts. And one of his examples was AWS, Amazon Web Services. That didn't make sense, and now it's one of their biggest revenue making streams. With ideas, you have to be very stubborn on the vision and strategy, but very flexible on the details and tactics. 56. When to stop an idea. Jeff will stop funding a project/idea when the last high judgment champion folds their cards. You should give up on things, but you should not give up so easily. 58. The reason for Amazon's physical bookstore was that Jeff wanted to recreate that serendipity of finding random books. Rather than using Amazon where you get suggested books, he wanted people to feel that sort of creative feeling of luckiness where you're in a bookstore and you sort of pick up that book that wasn't recommended and it was just sort of out of chance, it was out of the blue. That's why he makes all his books face forward. When building a business, look 10 years ahead of time and look for things that still stay stable and true. No matter the change in competition, no matter the change in technology, customers will always stay the same to these true and stable facts, and those are the things you want to double down on. And it will pay dividends 10 years from now, as it will never go out of style. 60. The reason why Amazon worked much better in India rather than China, because they learned the mistake with China and they implemented more local country customizations. Jeff has been able to see the crazy similarities between the dot-com boom and the electricity era. In 2003, when he started sort of Amazon and how when it was young, he was able to see the similarities between the internet versus the similarities between the first washing machine in 1903, when there was huge room for improvement and innovation, and that's why he went all in on the internet. 62. Every time Jeff gets a compliment, he always tries to come back with another compliment. 63. Jeff is always pivoting. An example of that was that he launched Amazon auctions that led to ZZZ markets. Then that led to Amazon Marketplace, where people can list their items on top of current listing, and that just killed it in a good way. And it took him 2-3 variations to find the one that worked. It took him 2 failures that were 1.5 years long each to reach success. Constant pivoting and figuring out what the customer needs will lead you to success. 64. Jeff is not fazed by childhood photos. There was an interview with him and his brother. A lot of weird, funny looking childhood photos were coming up. He completely embraced it and he does not care at all. 65. Not too sure about a decision? Pace yourself till you're 80 years old and look back to see if you were gonna regret doing or not doing that decision. And that's exactly why he left his finance job, because he knew that his 80-year-old self would regret it if he did not leave finance to try out this online thing. 67. Jeff's high school valedictorian speech, he ended it with space, the final frontier, meet me there. That's pretty insane how he predicted it all the way when he was 18 years old that he was going to go to space. That's pretty crazy. Jeff believes that Earth is the best planet there is out there, and he believes that all the mining, all the manufacturing is going to be done out of space, on Mars, somewhere else, and Earth is going to be kept as a safe sanction. 68. People are always talking about living on Mars, and he counters with, imagine living on the top of Mount Everest. That would feel like living on paradise compared to living on Mars. 69. I've noticed that Jeff is an amazing storyteller. He's always repeating stories and always pivoting them to make it better and better, and basically molding it into the best story. If you look at Earth's current energy usage, and let's say we be super conservative with it and we only compound it by 2 to 3% every year, in a few hundred years time, we're gonna have to cover the whole Earth in solar cells. He's basically saying that we're gonna have to start finding other planets to get resources from, because at this rate, in a few hundred years time, we're gonna have to stop growth in order to stay alive as a civilization. 71. Jeff starts every dinner, every fireside chat with a toast, and he says, to adventure and fellowship. Jeff is very adventurous, which was surprising to me, as I showed a bunch of pictures of him literally traveling the world in camels, in caves, camping. And he's literally done a lot. He's done 3-day horseback riding. He has done cross-country road trips, cave exploring, etc. And yeah, it was pretty cool to see that Jeff did a lot of cool things and traveled a lot. 72. Jeff is really good when it comes to going off-grid during holidays and not touching his phone. Jeff just loves being present and loves connecting to the people that he hangs out with. That's why it isn't too hard for him to get off the phone. To be successful, you need to be an expert in your domain as well as have the beginner mindset. 74. Despite having Amazon, Blue Origin, and a bunch of other projects, Jeff is still able to be a dad and travel, and he's basically really good at being balanced. You have to love what you do. You have to love the work you do, because that energy is going to translate to your family when you come home. You basically want to look for something that literally energizes you every single day. Since 1999, when I was born, Jeff has been obsessive over the customer, always providing value to the customer and putting them to the very top of the chain. He would provide free shipping, free returns, fast shipping. He would provide return guarantees. He would hire more employees to increase fast shipping times. He would go ahead and buy out distribution centers to make shipping times faster. He didn't care anything else but the customer's experience. Why does Jeff Bezos do so many things? He says that, well, they might look all different, but they all support one goal: customer obsession. The company's second key value is eagerness to invent. They love to pioneer and do new things. And most of the time that they do the Me Too type of thing, where they see something that's popping and they jump on it, most of the time those things fail. Jeff tries to maintain that day one startup entrepreneurial spirit in his company despite its scale and resources. The one thing that helps is having that one key goal of having customer obsession that only small startups have, and he basically tries to maintain that entrepreneurial and inventive spirit that a small company has with the scale of a big one. He has these pretty interesting meeting rules. Rule number 1, no PowerPoint presentations. It's literally, all he has is a 6-page memo with real sentences, topic sentences, verb, nouns, and it's just not bullet points laid out. It's like actual content. And the meetings can only be the size of a group that would feed 2 pizzas. So you're looking at 5 to 6 people. And on top of that, he has this 30-minute reading period before he starts the meeting, because this would literally lead to no excuses of people not reading the memos, and everyone would be able to actively be in the discussions, because as you all know, in work, everyone is busy, everyone has their own meetings, and most people say they read the memos and they try to bluff it through the meeting, and they won't be able to actively be in the meeting. Hence, he carves out 30 minutes for everyone to read it. 81. Jeff tap dances to work. That's how much he loves his work. As Jeff's company grows, he focuses on the culture of the company and its core values. He goes from being this manager to becoming a teacher. 83. Jeff's only role is to think 2 to 3 years ahead of time into the future. Anything that pulls him to the present means that something has gone bad and wrong and requires his attention. And this shouldn't be happening much. If you want a real business, you should be always thinking ahead. 84. The reason why Jeff is wanting to become multi-planeted, because he wants 1 trillion humans. Because if there's 1 trillion humans, that means there's going to be 1,000 Mozarts, 1,000 Picassos, 1,000 Einsteins, and so on. 85. Jeff predicts that Earth is going to be zoned as a residential and light industrial zone, and factories and minings are going to be done out of space. Jeff doesn't believe that AI is going to steal your jobs. He believes that it's going to open up more space to more creative jobs that's going to allow people to feel more fulfilled in their jobs. And he also believes that there's just a ton of jobs that are still undiscovered. Example, if you told farmers 100 years ago that there's a profession called being a masseuse, they would think you're crazy, like you get paid for massaging people? No way. But now that's a real industry. Just like how there's people coming up as dog psychiatrists, which is like pretty crazy, but in 50, 70, 100 years time, that might be completely normal. 2 things that Jeff had to think about before buying the Washington Post. 1, that it was an important institution. 2, he had to convince himself that it wasn't hopeless. Who does Jeff Bezos look up to? Jeff said he looks up to people like Warren Buffett when it comes to the business aspect of things, and he reads all the things that Buffett writes. He also looks up to a lot of other CEOs such as Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, Bob Iger of Disney. So he does have people that he looks up to and learns from. To innovate, you have to experiment. You need to do more experiments per week, more experiments per month, etc. And there's going to be countless of failures. An experiment isn't an experiment if you know the results. So you're gonna have to be constantly doing things that you don't know what the results are gonna be, and most of them are gonna fail, but the one success is gonna win for tens of thousands of failures. In most organizations, when you have an idea, it has to go through many levels. You have to get a yes from your manager, then your manager brings it to their manager, then it brings up to the executive, the head, the CEO, and there's just too many layers that's hard for ideas to flourish. So in Amazon, Jeff wants to create a few high quality decision makers that basically will give people green lights. So just like an entrepreneur that's pitching an idea to many different angel investors, as an employee, you could pitch your ideas to many of these executives, and all you need is 1 yes, 1 green light, and your idea will come to fruition. So even if there's a no from Jeff, but another high executive decision maker says yes, that idea is going to go through. When Jeff hires people, he looks for people that want to innovate and like to experiment, and they're a bit radical. 92, this is a good one. Jeff doesn't like fair battles. Fair battles are for the boxing ring, not for the outside world and not for real life. If you're preparing for a fair fight, you're not preparing well enough. Collaboration is super important. When it comes to certain requirements, there's certain things that commercial businesses can offer for it. You don't want to spend time and energy to create and customize things for that particular requirement. You just want to outsource it to someone who's a professional at it. And the thing is, when you do, that thing is going to constantly evolve and get better and better, because that company's role is to make that part the best it can be. You want to be putting all your effort and energy into making that special sauce of your business. Good engineers build to requirements. Great engineers push back on requirements. Great engineers are going to be like, no, we can't have that requirement if we want to reach our goals. You don't want a private doctor that just has experience with one type of issue. You want a doctor that has seen hundreds of patients and has dealt with many different cases, because this would lead to them seeing a bunch of different sicknesses and having that just broader knowledge to help you out. To build great businesses, you need to have the scale and nimbleness of a small company, as well as have the ability to absorb punches as a big company. Being Amazon, being a big company that you could absorb punches, most big companies don't have that nimbleness that a small company has. So what Amazon does is it reduces its decision time in order to gain that nimbleness within its big company. There are two types of decisions. One, high impact, one-way decisions that are irreversible, and two, decisions that don't have a large impact and are reversible. Most companies are treating all decisions the same and treating them both as type 1 decisions, whereas Amazon divides them into two and allows all the type 2 decisions to go through with nimbleness, and as a result the company as a whole has that small entrepreneurial nimbleness. 97, this is a good one. Business and success is only a numbers game with no cap. Keep trying until you hit success. Unlike in baseball, when you only have 4 tries to hit the ball, in business, you literally have an unlimited amount of tries to hit success. How awesome is that? 98. Invention is about predicting what the customer needs. Example, Uber and Echo would have sounded like a stupid idea 5 to 10 years ago. Who would have thought that a parent would allow their child to book a stranger and the stranger's car on the app, have them come and have that stranger pick up your kid and bring them to school? But now it just makes sense. Hard work doesn't stress Jeff out. Being overscheduled does. So as a result, he always schedules in free periods within his daily timetable. And when he gets invited to talks, he only accepts them if they're able to wait for him to a day before and let him make a decision then. And the reasoning behind this is because if he says yes now, by the time he gets to that date, he's going to regret it. But if he's allowed to say maybe when the day before comes, he'll actually be more incentivized, and most of the time he's going to be like, oh, okay, I'll shop tomorrow, and we'll give them a heads up. And that wouldn't lead to his regret, and he basically has that freedom. If you're getting burnt out, you need to take a step back because you're doing something wrong. Take a step back and look at your life from a backwards point of view and see where energy is being taken. Look for where energy is being gained, where the hour's going, and then create a solution. 101. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. 102. Start meetings on a positive note. Put in all your criticism, throw them out, throw out all the negative things that happen, all the fixes, and then end the meeting on a positive note. And that's 102 things that I've learned from listening to 6 to 7 to 8 hours of just Jeff Bezos talking. And that's what I'm probably going to do more of, just listening to the top entrepreneurs and creating these videos for you guys who just don't have the time to invest 8 hours into just listening to someone talk. So I hope you guys found value in this video. This video is quite long because me telling you guys 100 things isn't that quick and easy, but I hope you guys were able to find value in this. And the next one is probably going to be one just like this, but on Bill Gates. Would love to hear your feedback and thoughts. Drop all your comments and questions below. Don't forget to like the video if I was able to give you guys some value. I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow with more golden nuggets. Peace.